So I apologize for that. It's a work in progress. Once I turn this down on the wheel, that's basically what you'll be seeing anyway. So anyhow, with course spinning, there's lots of different ways or things that you can do depending on what you'd like to do. If you want to do something that's like a fluffy course spun, that is what this one is. And I think from the looks of it, I may have went back and did a ply on this one too, but I can show you a little bit about that as well. But this is what I would consider more of a chunky or a fluffy course spin. And this was done from a bat. And then this is another course spin that I had done. This one is done, I believe, I did it a while ago, so I can't really exactly remember, but I believe I did this with some, pretty sure this is either Cheviot or Corriedale. And then I picked up other pieces of just scrap yarn and kind of spun from that as well. So it's kind of a neat one to use as a demonstration because you can see that this was from a bat. Oh, this might have been from a fat fiber sampler now that I'm thinking about it. This is where I grabbed some mohair locks and just went in and did those, of course, spun those in, and just a couple of different types of fibers in there. So it's fun. If you don't want to do a fluffy course spin, you can do one that's just a simple basic course spin where it's just wrapping around your ply yarn. You can also, if you want, you can use like a soft wire. I know we have, I don't know if they have them everywhere, but I get mine at Weimar, but at any other store or hardware store that would sell like a little coil, or even Michael's or some kind of craft store that would sell a little coil of wire, soft wire. I would go with a very soft, thin wire, maybe even, I think they have a little, not copper, but it's gold. It might be copper, I don't know. But anyways, you can even course spin onto that wire and then take that off and make bracelets or bead it or do something like that. So I think there's a lot of fun things you can do. Like I said last time, the sky's the limit when it comes to doing course spinning. It just all depends on what you would like to do. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to turn the camera down to my wheel. I'm using my country spinner again. Let's see if I can get this down here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let me move this out of the way. Now, I'm getting that laptop out of the way. I probably am not going to be able to see your guys' comments. I'll try to keep an eye on for them, but if I miss them, I'll just go back and review them. And then if you have questions, just leave a question in the comments or send me a message as well. So this is a bat that I was working on. I started this after I did the course spinning demo, the thick and thin demo last week. And it was from a bat. So what I had done is I split my bat up into manageable pieces to use. Now I wanted to do a fluffy one. So I have bigger chunks. If you wanted to do just a simple, real thin or a tight course spin around it, then probably you can use a smaller, you can spin it, thin it down a little bit. But this is the same course, the same core that I was using last time. It's the alpaca merino commercial wool that I have. I was so busy last week getting things ready for the sale that I didn't even attempt to try to find my cone of yarn, but I'm going to do that sometime soon. And I might put this on. Let me put this on my lap just because everything really sticks to it. So if you're new to course spinning, basically you will go ahead and attach your ply yarn to your leader. Once you have your fiber ready, I like to get the twist going a little bit, and I'll lean the fiber over onto the yarn, my core, and I'm going to pull. I'm going to still do some drafting while I'm treadling. I'm going to draft and pull it over. And then you can see that it is covering the ply, the yarn that I'm plying it onto or spinning it onto. when you're core spinning, basically your yarn is just wrapping around this core. So if you wanted to do, like I said, a thinner yarn, or say you're working on a wheel that has a smaller diameter orifice, you can still core spin on that. Just do smaller and a thinner amount. So grab with it, pinch with your thumb and your pointer finger and pull and let that draft and curl over. It'll just wind right over. So then what you end up with is a core spun yarn, but it's thinner because we didn't do a big fluffy, like, back this out, like this. So you can control based on how much fiber you're pulling over and drafting over here. I like to do short bursts of the fiber because I like a fluffy core spinning. And what I like to do after I do this is I can either go back, take this off of the bobbin, go back and ply it with that, like the rayon thread that I had shown you guys last week. And you don't have to use rayon, but the rayon thread that comes on the spools like this, you can find them at any fabric store that sells sewing supplies, or you can find them online as well. But I like it because you can get a big assortment of different colors. Sometimes you can just buy a package of them, and then you have all these different colors that you can choose from. So when it's time to do your plying, or if you don't want to get a bunch of colors, maybe get like just a silver and a gold, or a gold, you know. And so this is from spinning from just a bat. You can control when you get a bat, you have all these different colors. So you've got the light blue, the dark blue, a green, and then this is bamboo. If you want to be able to control what you're seeing and what's spinning, then it's easy. Like say you want this bamboo, just grab that, pull it off, and spin that right over the top. So then you have a nice little chunk of bamboo and Angelina. Then you can go, okay, maybe I want some of this darker blue. So you can control that as well. And you've got the blue. But now you go, oh, I want the lighter blue. So then you just turn your bat again and get whatever color that you want to be the main focus. Have that be your fiber on the top. But I'm just grabbing and pulling with this. Let me see if I can show you what I'm doing with my hands this way. Probably make it look easier than what it really is. It's kind of like a timing or a feeling. What you'll do is you'll be able to feel this twist building up too. So you have to remember to let go of your core yarn too. So it is sliding through. Otherwise, if you just hold on to it and keep spinning, it's just going to tighten up. You're going to get a lot of twist here, so you'll have to release it. So you have just a few things going on. You've got the pinching and pulling. So you're drafting it on. And then with your yarn here, your core yarn, you're going to gradually let go and let that flow through your fingers. What works best for me is to take the yarn, put it over my pinky, run it through this part of my hand, and then I'm holding from here. So depending on what feels comfortable for you, you can do that. So just try a couple different ways of holding it, and then you'll be able to see what works best for you. But you can do lots of different things. You can grab it. If you go faster, you can kind of build it up and have a real big chunky. You can work your way back and forth and get a real fun core like that, a real fun core spun that it kind of looks like it's been plied, but it hasn't. So it's just kind of building up over on top of it itself. So let me get through this little bit, and then I pulled out a couple other fibers so we can take a look and see how they spin too with core spinning. But like I said, for your yarn that you're going to be spinning on, this one here, make sure you choose something that's strong, a good strong wool yarn, maybe something that has some nylon in it, something that's going to be strong enough to hold that twist on there. So isn't that cool? What's the advantage of core spun versus regular non-core thick yarn? Well, I think, well, it depends on what you're going to do with it. I think that core spun, you probably end up with a lighter weight yarn because the way the fiber is wrapping on here, it's looser. So I think the yarn is actually lighter. If you were using a thicker yarn, on a project that I don't know, I'm not quite sure exactly what kind of yarn you're talking about. If you were just thinking about like a chunky yarn or something of that nature, then I think it depends on what your final project would be. Most of the coarse spin, like this would be yarn that would be used as accent type yarn, decorative yarn. You can make a scarf out of it. Let me show you this one. This is a scarf that I wove on my Ashford sample at Loom. And what I was working with was, what did I use? So this is my warp. Okay, so my warp yarn is actually this color of yarn. This was my warp, and this is a core spun yarn. And then the weft yarn was actually a core spun mohair also. So, could you use a wool rug yarn for the core? Yeah, Miriam, I think that you could. If that yarn is thick enough to fit through whatever orifice or what wheel you're spinning on, then that would work. I think that I did at one point, I wanted to make like a real thick, chunky yarn, and I went to go buy like some cotton almost rope from the hardware store, but it was it was expensive. And so what I decided to do then is I did spin a real thick yarn, just a single out of, I think it was either Corriedale or Cheviot, one of the less expensive wools. And then I used that as my yarn to spin it on. But yeah, you could use anything as your core, anything that's going to go through, anything, your orifice, anything that's strong enough to handle the twist and not break is what you want to use, because you won't realize how much tension that you're going to have here and how much twist you're going to have building up in the hand that you're using for the yarn. But yeah, this was a lot of fun to see this come into play. It took a little bit of work. The reed that I have for my my loom, I don't know what size it is. I want to say maybe it's I think it's a 10, maybe 10, 11 and a half, something like that. So I did kind of have to work it through a little bit, but I was really happy with the results on this. It came out super cute, I thought. And yeah, I really like it. So this is done with coarse spun yarn. This hat, let me see. Well, this one has the thick and thin. I don't think you can see that one once I'm up and moving, but yeah, it just all depends. So if you wanted to core spin from a braid, you missed the first 6 minutes. What do you have questions? Oh, okay. Do you need to ply it? You don't have to ply the coarse spun yarn. What I would do, if you're not going to ply it, just make sure that you get enough twist in it. You don't want to do it so it's so loose that you take it off and then it's not going to, that it feels like it's going to come undone. You do want to make sure that your treadling is going, is going a little bit fast enough to build up that extra twist. So I'll show you. This is just a little sample piece. This is one of the merino bamboo braids that I had dyed. So I would split this down. I would probably split it down as if I was going to spin it regularly. So you can see you've got the merino and then you've got the fluffy white bamboo. So get your core yarn going, and I usually build up the twist. Now I do that because on my country spinner, it spins a little bit different than your regular yarn. So if I was starting with a fresh bobbin or starting a new yarn, what I do initially is I will spin one of those tighter coarse spinning, use a tighter technique here in the beginning. So I've got that twisted around there good. Now, the reason I do that is say, well, for one, when I go to take it off of the niddy noddy, I want to be able to loop this around and do my figure eight and tie it. If you're doing that with the fluffy part of the yarn, with this big chunky part, it's a little bit difficult. But this gives it a nice stable start. So I'll do that. If I was doing this for a yarn that I was going to keep, this is just for demo, I would probably do that for, maybe at least 10 or 12 inches. Okay. So then to start to add it on, it's just like if you're spinning, just hold it over, it'll pick it up. So if you're new, it might be easier to start out with a narrow piece of fiber like this also. And then you can just concentrate and focus on just grabbing a little bit. So what I meant by making sure that you have enough twist in it, you can see that as this is spinning, that there are bits and pieces through here that are tighter. And that's because the twist has just grabbed it and pulled it in a little bit tighter. So you can use this yarn just like this without plying it with anything, without having to try to lock it in with like a rayon thread or that sort of thing. If you're going really loose and just doing a real super loose yarn like this, make it kind of fly away. That's okay too. There's not a lot of twist in here, but you might want to think about putting just a little bit extra in there if you don't ply another yarn over it, just to make sure that it's kind of stays together on there. But this is done with the same technique. I'm just grabbing here and pulling with my left hand. So I'm right-handed, so I have my core yarn in my right hand, and I'm got my fluffy fiber that I'm spinning in my left, and I'm just grabbing, drafting, let it twist. Grab, draft, let it twist over. All the while letting this yarn slip through my fingers too. So I don't have another bobbin to switch it onto. If I did, I could show you how to do some plying or some otherwise. I can show you. Let me grab. This kind of looks like a mess. Okay, so I grabbed my little bobbin of gold rayon thread. So you can do what's called an auto ply. So you're still spinning in the one direction. Let me see if I can hold this with my legs here. I wouldn't, what you would do is you would want to start this in when you're initially starting, but for sake of the video and the way things are going right now, I am just going to kind of, tie that on. Now this rayon thread is not very strong, so you have to be careful with that when you're doing that. Okay, so say if you want to do an auto ply. See if I can get this. Usually I would have the thread just sitting right down there underneath me. I'm going to see if it'll work like this. What you'll want to do, let's get this going a little bit. And this is going to automatically start plying. Keep it close to the orifice and do your core spinning. The bob, I don't know if you can hear that rolling around a little bit. But the rayon thread is tied and is moving right up and along. Keep it close to your orifice. Let me finish this out and then I'll pull it back out so you can take a look. And this is what you would, whoops, yeah, there we go. Let me go here. And so this is just kind of an auto ply. So it's plying in the same direction. I'm going to break it off. Okay. So let's unwind it. Let me hold this up closer to the camera. You can see where see how it's plied itself, wrapped itself around the yarn. Does the core spin yarn end up with a lot of extra twists of the part? Spun yet. It will only, so the core yarn, yes, it will build up with twist if you're not gradually letting it go through the orifice. So that you do have to, I think the hardest thing about core spinning is getting the hang of it, how it feels in your hand. With spinning, I go by the way things feel. I know it's not very technical, but that's kind of how I do things. But you can feel it. You'll be able to feel it building up just like as if you were doing your thick and thin. You can feel that twist building in there. But this is a really, I think, with that auto plying, this is where I tied it up here. So this gives it a really nice look. So you can do it to where it's not too loose, or you can kind of pull here and then have a little bit thicker, or I'm sorry, a little tighter tension. Sorry, I'm a little tired from over the weekend. Everybody, what a great weekend. It's super, super busy. The sales were crazy busy. So many people were online. I was really happy to see that. There was so much participation with that. So I think, Rosalie, with the extra twist building up in the yarn, you do have to just kind of make sure that you're releasing it to go in. If you're just holding this and you're spinning, oops, come on now. What happened? Okay. There it goes. I wrapped that up wrong. Let's see what happens with that. Let me get this going a little bit. Okay, so if you are core spinning, and you are not letting your core go through, you can feel that it wants to be pulled in. So you have to let go of that. And when you do, that'll also help tighten it up. But the best thing, see how it'll get tight there? The best thing to do is kind of just play with it. You can pull, pinch, and release as long as you keep some even tension on here. Pinch, pull, pinch, release here. Pull, pinch, release. But you want to hold on to this some too. You don't want it pulling itself in too fast either. So you got to have some tension on there. So that would be, flips the image. Oh, sorry, Mary, I didn't see that. Yeah, I don't know how to turn to where it looks like it's opposite. So yeah, so even though this is my right hand, I think on screen it probably looks like it's my left. So let's see what else I got here. I grabbed just kind of a different assortment of fibers. You can spin from any type of prepped fiber. So bats, roving, well, I should say top. It's commercial top that's been dyed. You can do it from a roll lag. So here's a roll lag that I've got. Let's pull this out a little bit to get it started. It's a little bit trickier when you're doing it from a roll lag just because of the way they are. Oh, when you're spinning, Mary? Yeah, you're spinning. When you're core spinning, you are still spinning. I go towards the right. So you're still spinning as if you were spinning a regular single. So you still spin it the same. It's still going that way. And then when you go to ply it, you spin it the opposite way. But Yeah, so you can do core spinning from a roll lag because the roll lags are the way that they're made. When you do go to core spin them, you have to work with it just a little bit, but it's a lot of extra twist built up on that. Look at that. Look how this is really pretty. I haven't core spun this one before, but look at how cool that comes out. Because of the way the Rolex prepared, it's kind of has that little bit of tightness in there. It's snug. The fiber's compact a little bit. This, I think, just with everything else, is just a matter of practice. You just kind of do it over and over, and then one day it'll just kind of click, and then you'll have it, and you'll go, oh yeah, that's how I did it. This wasn't hard. I was able to figure it out. This is one of my favorite ways. This is, I don't want to say one, it probably is my most favorite way to spin. This almost looks like it's kind of little clumps of beads. Now this is more dense, but that's because the way the roll lag is the type of fiber, it's not nice and airy and loose like the bat. Bats are great for core spinning. Claire, the core that I am using now is actually a commercial ball of alpaca and merino wool. It's a DK weight. Otherwise, you'd want to use any type of wool or yarn that is strong. You don't want to be able to grab it like this and pull it apart and break it because it does get a lot of twist built up on there. I've seen that some people use cotton. I have not used cotton. The only reason I haven't is because it doesn't have any, to me, when I'm working with cotton, it doesn't seem to have any give to it. So there's no little bounce or stretch to it. So any type of a wool yarn, a wool nylon, if you're practicing and if you don't mind, you can even use a worsted weight acrylic. I've done that before. Something like this, great to practice on. If it's going to be a yarn that you're going to keep for yourself, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it using it in general. A lot of us probably started out as crocheters or knitters, and we probably have a lot of acrylic sitting around. So this is a good stash buster. If you've got some and you're like, I'm spinning my own yarn now, and that's what I like to use, but we still have balls of the acrylic around, you can use that too. To me, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not a fiber yarn police. It doesn't matter. It's strong, which is really good. So if you're, especially when you're new and you're starting out, it would be good to use and fine to use also. I even saw on one group, I don't know which group it was or where the posting was, but you know how in the the aspirin bottles or medicine bottles, when you open it up and you have that little bit of cotton or whatever it is that comes out of the the medicine, like an aspirin bottle. I've seen people taking acrylic yarn, use that as their core, and then took that little bits of cotton and they core spun with that. So I thought that was cute. Hey, we're resourceful, we're crafters, right? So we figure it out somehow. But I would say no rules with that as far as the core, just as long as it's strong. You can core spin over what you want to call it, wire too. Locks, yes, I'm going to show you how I do the locks. I have locks. These are locks from Liongate Farm here on Wool and Fiber Arts, and I bought the fleece from her and I dyed it. I would probably, for core spinning, locks. These are locks from Liongate Farm here on Wool and Fiber Arts, and I bought the fleece from her and I dyed it. I would probably, for core spinning, you can either take your time and fluff it up by hand, or if you have a picker, or even let me see if I can grab my brush off of my carder. you want to maintain the looks of the locks a little bit. But the other thing you can do, because these, look at these BFL curls, they are so tight. Love my Tupperware bowl. I do too. I love Tupperware. I'm such a fanatic for 70s Tupperware and even older Pyrex. But look at these locks. Okay, they're soft as they look. I love them. But because they are and they have these tight little crimps, you can pull them out piece by piece and spin those, but it's gonna take a while. So you can also just take some and brush them a little bit. This is a dog slicker brush, and I got it at a regular old, well, we have Fred Meyer store here in the Pacific Northwest, so I think that would be very similar to any type of grocery / drugstore, combo type store that sells any kind of pet supplies. This is a really, this is what I use on my drum cart instead of the one that comes with it. But you want to just open those locks up a little bit. And then to get started, I would just grab a handful of them and start out with that little kind of the smaller, thinner one. With the locks, when I course spin, I usually go a little bit, hi Lizette, I usually go a little bit slower because I want to make sure that I'm getting certain parts of these locks. I like to keep the crimp intact, but I don't want to have a super dense yarn either. So I want to fluff it up a bit. It feels like I got it. Something, okay, on my stuff on here. So I love these little, I'm just going to say it, I love these little curly cues. And like, I have some mohair too, the curly cues. And so, and that's kind of how I came up with my name, Curly Cues, for my name. So, okay, for the fiber bag, etc., you're spinning onto the cord. Does it work best with short, medium, or long fiber? Or, I don't know what that says. Or, I don't know if it says it doesn't matter, whatever. I'm going to say it works better with a medium or a longer fiber. Especially starting out. If you're using a shorter fiber, like these little BFL locks, these aren't very long. They're probably, well, stretched, they're a few inches, but I'm not totally stretching them when I'm spinning them. So if you're using a shorter fiber, just like if you were spinning regularly, this is got some yarn stuck on there. It would be, you'd have to treadle a little bit faster and watch your spinning. But see, if I did coarse spin them just like this, you can totally do that. You just want to make sure that you are grabbing some of that fiber and making it tighter around there, because you don't want to end up doing it. No, I am spinning clockwise. I'm spinning clockwise, and then when I ply, I spin counterclockwise. So I do that regardless of what type of spinning that I'm doing. I'm sorry, because it's reversed. Yeah, so it looks different. One day I'll figure that out with my iPad. We'll see. But see the difference between, these are the locks that I didn't flick out on with my little carder. And they're on there. They're on there pretty tight. And these are the ones that I did open up and fluff a little bit. Some of that thicker stuff is getting on there. Now, the other locks that I have, these are some mohair locks that I bought from someone years ago, and I totally forgot that I had it. But look how long those are. These are long. So with these, I can kind of take them and pull them apart like this, just a little bit. Just grab it, fluff it out with my hands. Mohair, I think, makes an absolutely beautiful coarse spun. These are long locks too. I think these might be kid mohair. I can't remember. Um, but I like to fluff it up like that. I can also use my little brush and open up the locks a little bit. But you want the locks open some so they'll grab. But when you're doing spinning with the mohair, get it going on there for a bit. And then you can go fluffy or not so fluffy. You just want to make sure that those locks are locking itself in and wrapping around. Takes a little bit more finessing this way. You have to move your hands, watch what the fiber's doing, where it's going. Start out slow and then gradually bring your speed up if you want. Or it is, I mean, it's a nice, slow, relaxing spin too. But nice long locks with these. If you are doing locks and you're coarse spinning them, I would suggest making sure that you get plenty of twist in there, because when you go to do it counterclockwise, if you're applying, you don't want to have any of these locks kind of falling off. And if you're doing it with enough twist, it won't. But the scarf, the mohair in there, that is from coarse spun mohair. That's in the scarf that I made. The cut ends. Yeah, I would open the cut ends of it, or honest, with this, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, there's my cut end and then there's my tip. If you were tail spinning, you definitely would open from the cut ends of the tip, because I'm not real good at tail spinning because I don't have patience. But if you were tail spinning, you would, because what you want to do, the difference between tail spinning and coarse spinning is tail spinning, you're spinning in just the tip of it. Okay. And then you've got that long, this isn't a lock, but say here's the lock. So then you've got that long lock that's just hanging there. And then you're spinning again, and then you're attaching another one. But when you're coarse spinning, what I like to do with these, not just open up that end, I like to grab them from the middle. So if I grab it from the middle and pull it like that, let's get this one. Let's find a thick one. So here's one of my locks. When I go to split it, Fran, I'll try to grab it from the middle and then pull it open. This one kind of has a little bit of a knot, but pull it open like that. And then I would take this piece and spin it like that. So that's basically kind of what these are, because when I do mohair, what I want to show is just a fluffy halo part. But I like to leave some of that curl intact too. So you have it kind of sticking out. So it kind of looks like a faux tail spin, because you've got these little locks sticking out, but it's not really, it's coarse spun. This yarn, great for weavings, of course. Nice for scarves. Nice to use as accents on maybe trim around the wrist on a sweater, or to make a cowl. I did make a full wrap in some Gotland one time like that. So that was cool. Let's see, what else? Sari silk. So you can, sari silk has a super short little staple length, right? But say if you want to coarse spin that, you're welcome, Fran. Open it up a little bit. get it spinning to get going, and then just grab and pull. So you've got it, and it's locking itself and wrapping around the core. So you can keep it fluffy like that. That would be pretty to go back around and ply it with some thread. Or if it's too fluffy for you and you want to do just a tinier core spun like that, you can do that. I'm going to go pull that off and make sure that wraps around. But I think it's just a personal preference. For me, core spinning smaller like that, my eye just gravitates more towards a fluffier. I've never plied. No. I did kind of ply some core spun. I did. I spun coils with a core spun, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, the little sari silk goes on there. Perfect. Not a problem. I also have, what do I have in here? This is some Cormo farm wool. And you're doing it the same way. Just like grab and let it pull on over. So it's fun. You can go back and forth between some farm wool. You go, okay, let's add some dyed merino bamboo. Do some more core wool. Cormo. This stuff is so soft. You can then lock in. Let's do a mohair. Oops, I got some silk in there. Let's cover that up. A little bit of mohair. Go back. Go back. I like to also just kind of take a handful of different fibers. Instead of carding them, just pull them off into pieces, mix them all up in a Tupperware bowl or something, or in another container, and then mix it all up, and then just grab that by pieces and spin that. So if you want to do something kind of cool and fun, this is fun. So this would make for a very neat type of yarn to use. Started out with the farm locks, went to the merino bamboo, back to farm locks, mohair, the merino bamboo, and farm locks, and the merino bamboo again. So let's see. What else? I think that's the only other type of fibers that I have. Does anybody else have any other questions? I think I can kind of see. Let me see if I can. I can scroll back through this a little bit. I don't know if there's anything. If you guys asked and I didn't answer, it'd be because I didn't see them and I can't. Oh, you're welcome, Mary. Let me see if I can turn this up a little bit. It's gonna shake. Let's see. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Lizette. You're welcome, Mary. Yeah, so if you guys have any other questions, then just shoot me a message or type down here. Hopefully Facebook will it'll send me a notification that someone asked a question on that, and I will do that. Oh, you're welcome, Rosalie. I'm new to doing the demo, so it's, and I've never taught classes or anything.